channel that covers reality TV from a mental health perspective. I'm here in Albany, New York. Um, I have a little bit of a break in action. I've been in meetings all morning. A couple of them were excellent. It's not to say that they weren't all excellent, but I guess what I'm saying is some of the presenters really spoke to me really well in terms of what they said spoke to me, and some of the things that we were talking about were very relevant to my job because this is a job conference. And you know I talked about wanting to make an impact on a larger scale, but the thing is, before you can make that impact on a larger scale, I think sometimes you have to make differences on a micro level. So, in other words, when you create something where you are, like when I go back um, south, wait a minute. Yeah, because we're in northern New York. I was just double checking my geography. Um, when I go back down south to where I live, right? My goal is to take some of the things that I have learned out here and implementing them into my job from a day-to-day standpoint. And the thing about my specific job that I do is that they put me in a position that didn't exist for my company before they gave it to me. They created the position, and then they were like, okay, Mark, now you're in charge of making this happen. And it's kind of the weirdest, most overwhelming experience in some ways. Like, I've been overwhelmed before. Hi, chocolate. I've been overwhelmed before in a sense of being given a lot of work to do. And I'm overwhelmed that way in terms of just being swamped with work. But this is the first time I've been overwhelmed in a sense of I'm given the keys to the car, right? Let's put it this way, because y'all know I love analogies. Somebody says, hey, this is your car, here's the keys, and we want you to drive the car for 20,000 miles this year. We want you to make sure it's maintained. We want you to take it to get car washes. We want you to have other drivers drive the car and make sure that they follow all the standards that you have to follow, and that you convey that to them, and that you get all the policies in place. But then, as I'm like, okay, let me get this done, I'm like, I know exactly how I want to start working on this. I'm like, okay, first I'm going to map out all the different places I'm going to go to get this car to this location. And the company is like, oh, but you got to get that approved. You got to get those places approved before you can start driving. And then we got to talk about the gas policy of putting the gas in the car. And then we have to figure out which car wash that you're able to take the car to. And then we got to figure out, we got to get that approved by the big boss. And the big boss does not really have this as a priority of helping me get this car out of the driveway. The big boss is just kind of, hey, how come you're not getting this done? So it was presented to me like, oh, it's almost like taking control of your own business. You get your own franchise basically to start building and working on. And it sounded great. That sounded wonderful, but in theory, but in practice, your own business, you have the autonomy to just get in the car and start driving and figuring out everything as you go along. I'm going to figure out this policy. I'm going to figure out about the gas card. I'm going to figure out where to get my oil changes and the car wash and everything. are you gay or just a book reader? Are you a commenter or just somebody who's blocked? Answer. I'll give you like 10 seconds to answer. Oh wait, you can't. Um hey big brother Bry, how's it going? So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. It's not the worst place in the world to be. I guess I should say that it's a different type of challenge than other ones that I have faced in previous times, you know. But what I was saying about today is that today I've gotten some good ideas about how to get it together. I've gotten some really, really good ideas, and I'm going to take some of those things and run with them. Tomorrow I'm going to be part of a panel that discusses peer specialists in a work environment. And anyone who doesn't know what a peer specialist is, a peer specialist is somebody with lived experience with either a mental health diagnosis or a substance abuse diagnosis who uses their lived experience, as well as now they have a peer specialist training, so a combination of the lived experience and the training to help others who have been in similar shoes as them. So it's a position that assists a person with mental health issues in a slightly different way, not even slightly, in a very different way than your clinician, because it's more like mentorship and shared experiences. That's what I would call it. And I did that for about 8 to 9 years, and then my last 2 years in the mental health field. Last year was hi. I don't know how to say your username, but last year, for about 8 years, I was in the mental health field as a peer specialist. Last year, I did care coordination, and this year, I'm now within a different program where I'm operating as a supervisor, which is the first time in my life and career that I've done that. So it's a whole different set of responsibilities, but they asked me to speak about the peer experience in the work environment because I have so many years under my belt of doing that, and I did it at so many different companies. And the peer specialist is a little bit stigmatized because people in the field often look at the peer specialist and say, well, I'm an LCSW, I'm an LMHC, or I have a PhD in psychology, or I have such and such educational background, and I've taken my clinical exams that qualify me to be the most knowledgeable person in the room regarding diagnoses and the diagnosis codes and just knowing about how each of those things operate. Like, okay, I know exactly what's going on in the brain for this, and giving like a scientific and research backed, I don't want to say opinion, but information. I'll say information. Giving that to clients. To me, I see value in that, and I see value in the person who's like, I've walked in your shoes and been where you've been. So I look forward to. I don't on a regular basis get a platform to talk about my experiences in a work environment and how I have dealt with all these different biases. So I will get to do that tomorrow, and I look forward to that. Oh, this is the place that we're in. I mean, So, how are y'all doing? All right. Well, I'll be on here later. But in the meantime, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell.